You know, in 1890, it would have been very difficult for anybody to imagine Ford Motor Company. Right? 25 years later, here's this company, iron ore at one end, Model T out the other end, massive industrial scale, everything that needed to go to be invented to allow that kind of, you know, vertical integration and all the new management techniques, management science that got invented. But ask somebody to describe that in 1890, making 500,000 vehicles a year by 1915, very hard to describe. I think we're at a similar kind of inflection point where, and I will tell you, if you're a CEO and if you're waiting for that model to emerge, like that's not a good thing. You know, if you're waiting to benchmark somebody else, that's not what leaders do. In most organizations, we don't call people employees anymore. I mean, maybe somebody does, but we call them team members or associates. And we recognize that in the creative economy, most of that wealth creation is coming from people out there rubbing up against customers, innovating. Certainly true in a service economy, the experience economy. We talk more and more about co-creation with our customers, with our business partners. So already I think we've understood that value is created more and more out there on the periphery, but we still have these organizations where I would say too much power and authority is reserved for people at the top of the pyramid. And ultimately, yes, I think the structures, the compensation, the decision-making has to catch up with this new reality. You know, I've found it kind of interesting. Most companies are quite now comfortable with 360-degree review, where your peers, your subordinates, and so on review your performance. In the best cases, that's all online and everybody can see it. But I would argue the next important step is going to be 360-degree compensation. Because if you show me an organization where compensation is largely correlated with hierarchy, I can tell you that's not going to be a very innovative or adaptable organization. People are going to spend a lot of their time managing up rather than collaborating. There'll be a lot of competition that goes into promotion up that formal ladder than competing really to add value. So increasingly, compensation has to be a correlate of value created wherever you are, rather than how well you fought that political battle, what you did a year or 2 or 3 years ago that made you an EVP or whatever. So you know, I think our organizations are going to evolve. We are going to catch up to this new economic reality, but it's going to take a while because that old hierarchical, that formal hierarchy, that is one of the most enduring social structures of humankind. I think making this transition, and it can seem quite daunting in a way, but I think making the transition, it will happen step by step. It will happen small experiment by small experiment where we start to say, what can we do in our organizations to enlarge the leadership franchise? We can break big units into smaller units to create more opportunity for people to be leaders. We can make the P&L much more visible to people, so and tie their own performance into that, so you feel like you have a real stake in the business. We can start to syndicate the work of executive leadership by opening up the conversations about strategy and direction and values and so on. We can start to use more peer-based systems to collect feedback on who's really acting like a leader and who's not. So I think there are a lot of small incremental steps that you can take in that direction. Where do we experiment? What can we do, both to create more opportunities for leadership, but also to help to teach people what does it mean to exercise leadership when you don't have formal authority? How do you mentor people? How do you build a coalition? How do you live in the future so other people want to follow you? How do you become one of those connectors that is bringing ideas and talent and resources together, which that's, again, critical work of leadership today. So giving people those new leadership skills that allow you to exercise leadership, get things done, even when you don't have a lot of formal positional authority. I would love to be in an organization where everybody has been trained, everybody believes they have the possibility of doing that. But it's going to happen one small step at a time. And as a CEO, my goal would be, whatever those small steps are, I want to be taking more of them, and I want to be taking them faster than anybody else, because to the extent I unleash the latent leadership talent across my entire organization, to the extent I become less reliant on a few people at top to see the future and respond in time, I'm going to have a more successful organization.